Hey, what's up? I kind of just wanted to make this video. Really, I mean, I suppose to listen to it. If it could help anybody else, I suppose, yeah. If anybody's dealing with anything, right? Similar. But so, I'm just gonna do a little backstory real quick. You know, and of course, this is in no way trying to condone anything illegal, any of that young stuff we used to do when we were young and getting into trouble and stuff like that. I mean, we're grown adults now, right? Talking to myself, right? 30 years old. Just turned 30 this last August. It's going on 31. You know, so I have a history of, you know, in and out of jail and stuff like that. But it's a little backstory what I'm talking about now. This stuff started happening like June 7, 2022 is the exact date. The first incident happening. You know, the stuff I'm dealing with now, the legal battles, the lawsuits I'm dealing with now, it's pertaining to that date. And then after, even before then, a little bit before then, but that's for, you know, I'll get to that in a second. So, since October 14, 2023, I was in jail in Clay County, Missouri, Clay County Sheriff's Department, in Liberty, Missouri, just north of Kansas City. And I had caught well, they charged me with 2 felony assaults and then ended up indicting me. So I got out early December, right after Thanksgiving, I remember. I got out. I had got out of Clay County, had to go down to Bates County, which is south of Kansas City, dealing with some stuff there that's pertaining to what I'm dealing with now, my legal battles now. That's how I was locked up for 15 months. I believe that's 15 months in total. So during these 15 months, I ended up finding out that you could sue from inside of jail for free if you're indigent, right? You just got to apply for it, right? So I applied for a free lawsuit. And now this time I got locked up on October 14, 2023, right? During this arrest, I got beat up by the cops, right? Excessive force, got punched while I was in handcuffs. And so with the stuff I was dealing prior to this, right, there's another lawsuit I got, right? They charged me with assault, but assaulted me worse than, you know, I assaulted them, allegedly. Anyway, this ain't the first time this has happened. Cops get a little rough. But again, the wise answer would be to stay out of situations like this. So in the state of Missouri, right, pertaining to this Clay County Sheriff's Department lawsuit, and one of my lawsuits, I have 6 total lawsuits, right? 5 are against law enforcement agencies. 1's against my public defender for malpractice in Clay County. So when I got locked up in Clay County again in October 14, 2023, right, I got a lawsuit on the police, Liberty PD, and then I got a lawsuit on my attorney for malpractice, the public defender's office. So I had some lawsuits. So anyway, with me doing that, right, from inside of jail, I ended up suing for my past, right? And the statute of limitations in the state of Missouri for lawsuits is 2 years, right? If something happened, you want to sue, you have to do it within 2 years. That's like an unheard law, or an unwritten law. The statute of limitations on some stuff, right? On stuff pertaining to me, right? So like stuff for like, you know, hospital bills, or somebody stole something or something like that. But it's completely different when you sue law enforcement. Of course, when you sue law enforcement, right, through the courts, right, the courts and the cops and everybody, they have a rapport, right? They have chemistry. So they're all one accord, right? So when people sue them, they don't really like it. So of course, with that comes what? Laws from Congress, right? Trying to hinder lawsuits from individuals. It's a lot harder to sue law enforcement than it is a regular entity in civil court. But I did sue. There's civil courts up to 5,000. There's circuit civil court, which is civil court where the defendant, like ASAP Rocky, he just got found out guilty. He got sued in circuit civil court. Missouri calls it circuit civil court. He didn't get sued in regular civil court. So if he would have got found guilty, the state would have pressed charges 100%, right, and sent him to prison. I think that's how that went, because I heard he had got sued. They sued him, but his accusations, you know, if found guilty again, could lead him to jail. So, and that's a lot of these, my lawsuits against law enforcement are charges, are accusations that could lead them to jail. And that's when you get to the end of your lawsuits, right? Then you come to the settlement agreements, and if they don't settle, then you're going to go to trial, and, you know, there's plea deal and all this other stuff. Civil, criminal courts, the same stuff. So while in jail, I found out you could sue something called a 1983 lawsuit, right? And they make you go through hurdles, 100%, right? So when you're, you know, so whatever district you're in, they got the South in Missouri, they got the West, the East, and the South district. They got district courts. So if you have a lawsuit and the event occurred in the west side of Missouri, you're going to use the Kansas City District Court, right? If you have a lawsuit on the east side towards Jeff City, going towards St. Louis, you'll sue in the St. Louis District Court. If you've got a problem down south, it'd be the Joplin District Court. So got a lawsuit, and this is different from going into the actual clerk. You know, some people, civil lawsuits and stuff, you have to go to the circuit clerk and then file a lawsuit, file paperwork, pay a fee, and that's how you do it. But 1983 lawsuits are different. 1983 lawsuits try to handle stuff outside of trial, as opposed to civil court. Regular civil court, you just go write on a piece of paper what happened, pay the fee with your paperwork, and then you get a court date within 2 weeks in the state of Missouri. And then you go in front of a judge and tell your story. That's trial, right? For civil suits. So 1983s are a lot different, and the time wait for it is a lot different, because then you go through appeals processes and stuff. And so I filed all 6 in January 2024. I filed all 6 lawsuits to the district court. Now, when I have a lawsuit in the state of Missouri, lasts about on average 6 to 12 months. We're more closer to the 6 months, 6 to 8 months. So, but when you're in jail, there's something called the PLRA. It's an acronym for Prison Litigation Reform Act. And what it does is it hinders lawsuits coming in and out of jails and prisons. This was signed into legislation in 1996 for all 50 states. So when we had the right to sue, right, inmates or anybody, right? So this is part of the civil rights movement, 1983 claims. We had the right to sue, but people were doing too many frivolous lawsuits, right? And these lawsuits stem from, you know, my lawsuits stem from excessive force to falsified documentation to Sixth Amendment violation, Fifth Amendment, equal protection, 14th Amendment. You can't get beat up while getting arrested. That's not part of the arrest process. Stuff of that nature. You know, equal protection is the 14th. Fifth Amendment is your due process rights. You have a certain due process in regards to any situation in life. Those get violated. It's a basic thing. They did this, that happened. Regardless of what one's opinion is on the matter, or, well, he shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that, 2 wrongs don't make it right, this, that, and the other. There's civil rights being violated. You know, reasonable. When cops use force, it's got to be reasonable, or what they think is reasonable. Hitting somebody in the face while they're flat on their back, he reacted to me. He had reacted to me. And got emotional, and he hit me in the face while on my back in handcuffs, and then choked me and all this other stuff. So in regards to that, yeah, and then what I'm dealing with, nobody got seriously hurt. I got hurt worse than anybody. That in my case, I got another alleged victim. He's being uncooperative. The only thing they said they have for trial is the cops coming to trial and they're willing to testify. I got trial at April 28th, I believe. But I got motion hearings before then, got pretrial stuff before then, so I could probably, I'm trying to get it dropped, dismissed. That'd be the smartest thing for them to do. So the other guy, if they can't get him to come to court, and they said this on record in one of my court dates last spring, when I was still in jail, they said the only evidence they have is that the cops are willing to testify. I mean, they got the body camera. They could testify to the body camera, but when in a police report, and this stems from a little argument outside of a hotel, and it lasts 2024 October. 2023, I'm sorry. And then I got to it with the police, and just, it blew up out of proportion. But the cop didn't state in his police report that he had hit me in the face. He said he hit me in the chest, but omitted the fact that he hit me in the face. Now, in regards, I'm going to get into detail with this, in regards to court procedures in all 50 states. They all got their own different court procedures. You can look them up. There's something called it's called Fast Case. It's a digital law library. It's like Google for law, and it's all law. And people can access this when they're in jail off the kiosk. They got kiosks in there, and they got tablets you can use. You know, you can use tablets. They're restricted, right? You can watch religious stuff on it, send messages to your family, get pictures, make canteen orders, stuff like that. So you can go on Fastcase and look up all this stuff, and it's very helpful, right? So there's something called court procedures. Each state has them. So when you go in this law book or digital law library, they have tablets. They have tabs you can click on, right? They have tabs you can click on, and it's like Google, right? You go to Google, you can edit your search and say only pictures this size if you're looking for images, or only keywords with this and that, this and that. Okay, so you go in there and you do the same thing. You modify your search. You look up statute numbers. You can look up all 50 states, regardless of what state you're in. You can do this on your home computer or your phone, I'm sure. It's very easy to access the law and to read the law and to inform yourself with the law if you need it, or to help somebody else. Free of charge. It's because people deal with law all the time, right? So if you have friends and family, it's very helpful to be informed and to say, hey, well, no, this can happen, this could happen, blah, blah, blah. So in all 50 states, something called it's called court procedures, right? Court procedures and rules. So Missouri has what's called Missouri Court Procedures and Rules. Missouri Court Procedures and Rules state, in the state of Missouri, when you get charged with a felony, right? You have what's called your right to a preliminary hearing. Okay, so your preliminary hearing, there's a court rule. It's Missouri Court Procedure Rule 22.09. And it states that a preliminary hearing shall be held no later than 30 days, right, from an offender's initial appearance. So an initial appearance would be your arraignment, right? You know, when somebody gets locked up, say they get locked up on a Saturday, Monday morning, they'll see the judge getting arraigned because Sunday's not a business day, right? Or they get locked up on a Wednesday, see the judge Thursday morning, get a bond, or tell them the next court date. So you got to get arraigned. So in the state of Missouri, again, this is part of your pretrial stuff. It's called a preliminary hearing. And a preliminary hearing isn't a hearing to come up and plead whether you're guilty or not guilty or take any time. No. All a preliminary hearing is to see, is there even enough evidence to hold this person for trial? See what I'm saying? So somebody gets locked up on a charge. The state has 30 days. Now, this can be, a lot of the times what people do is waive the preliminary hearing. They sign a piece of paper waiving the preliminary hearing, right? So they're more or less, when they do that, they're saying that they did the crime they committed, right? It's more or less working with the state prosecutor, you and your public defender or whatever, saying, okay, look, I'm waiving this, blah, 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 right? It's a strategic thing too, right? So I hope you guys can hear me okay. But anyway, I didn't waive my prelim. And if you don't waive your preliminary hearing in the state of Missouri, you must have a preliminary hearing no later than 30 days from your arraignment, right? So I got locked up October 14, 2023, okay? October 16, 2023, I'm getting arraigned, and the way Clay County does it, and most places do it, they do a video arraignment. You go on the video. It's like a little Skype video thing, and you talking to the judge. A lot of places do that remote technology stuff because you never really go in front of a judge unless you're taking time or something, right? But the bigger counties like city, like metropolitan jails, everybody goes in front of the judge and city court and stuff. But anyway, I digress. So, per the law, right? And I'm going to tell you how the state prosecutors try to get around this. Now, again, before I move on, I'm not in any way saying or condoning illegal activity. You do something illegal, you get in trouble, you lay down, you get caught. You have remorse if you've got a good spirit, right? You're going to repent and not do it again, right? So this is in no way trying to fight a well-established, what's the word I'm looking for? Well-established laws in regards to, you know, the whole spectrum of life, right? I'm not fighting. It ain't that they're the good guys, we're the bad guys, and we're fighting them because we're the bad guys, right? No, that's not what it is. The law is the law, right? The law was made for a reason. Laws get yayed or nayed, right, in Congress. Missouri has their own Congress, right? Okay, boom. Go this way. Excuse me. Boom. So laws get yayed or nayed. Missouri, it's a Missouri Supreme Court law out of everything. It's Supreme Court law trumps all. It's federal law trumps. States have to abide by federal law. They have to. They have their own little quirks and stuff with their own city laws and their municipal ordinances and certain times and deadlines that differ from, so like from Kansas has different city laws than Kansas City, Missouri. You see what I'm saying? They charge things differently. More or less it's the same, right? Law is law. And you learn law, you know, if you learn any of your faith or anything, or if you know, grew up in faith, any at all, you know, you learn the Old Testament, 10 Commandments, you know, Jewish law, stuff like that, right? It's very simple stuff, right? People go get their bar degrees, you know, it's the bar mitzvah, Jewish, you know, stuff like that. So it's law, like it's what not to do and what to do and how to live a good life and how to treat people, right? It's very common, very, very common. People do make mistakes. People do come from certain backgrounds, certain things. People struggle with this, struggle with addiction, struggle with alcoholism, this, that, and the other. And there are ways to mitigate your circumstances, right? Well, mitigated circumstances is special. Like say a kid, 16-year-old kid catches a felony for the first time. He's mitigated because he doesn't have a record, and so he'll get a good plea deal, right? If he struggles with drugs or alcohol, get a treatment with probation, so he's in lieu of jail time, right? So there's a bunch of different, you know, scenarios and this and the other that we can look at in regards to this, but this is in no way a Bane versus Batman type of thing. No, you see what I'm saying? That's the grandiose portrayal of, you know, and that's why you read the Old Testament then the New Testament. If you do, you see that's what it is against. It's against the powers that be, the, you know, the Roman Empire. That's what they were, you know. They weren't trying to overthrow it, but they were, you know, the Messiah, he was just teaching people, right? Speaking parables and stuff like that. He's informing people how to live, how to treat, how to react to certain circumstances, what to say, how to say it. He taught them, and he taught them to teach. That's what making disciples is. You know, I had disciples. People say that a disciple is a teacher. So if you're making disciples, you're not making followers, right? People follow you and, you know, stuff like that. Like King Vaughn, you gotta have two to be part of me, or you know, unguided, right? I don't got a lot of room to talk, but yeah, no, stay foundated in your faith, right? And keep moving, right? You see what the Messiah story was, right, in the New Testament, how what ended up happening to him and how he lived his life, right? So how does that happen to somebody who lives a life like that? It's inhumane, right? But that happens in life. Now, throughout the years and stuff like that, laws have been changed. There's been mercy shown in regards to the death penalty. There's been mercy shown in regards to certain laws. There's been mercy shown in a lot of different ways. Laws get amended, civil rights, things of that nature. So again, this is no way I'm bad, I committed a crime, now I'm trying to fight and get away. No. There's certain laws, again, that you have to abide by when you're trying to prosecute somebody. It's rights of the accused. That's what the founding fathers were writing. Rights of the accused. The only thing that pertains to government, the only amendment is the First Amendment. Right to free speech. Because what's that sound like, right? It sounds like you can say whatever you want whenever you want. No, you can't, because if you say whatever you want whenever you want to anybody, you can get locked up for assault. It's called simple assault, making threats, cursing, being loud. So in regards to the government, they have right to free speech. Nothing else really is, right? Just for the government. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Right to, you know, Sixth Amendment, right to counsel. Fifth Amendment, due process of law. Your freedom cannot be infringed upon without appropriate process, appropriate procedure. Again, back to the Missouri court procedure, what I was talking about. They violate that procedure in any form or fashion, they're violating your Fifth Amendment. They're violating your due process. So, in regards to my case, right, October 14, 2023, right, I didn't waive my preliminary because I knew I got beat up by the cops. I don't really remember. I had been drinking a little bit. But I woke up, and for about a good 45 days, I was blowing blood out of my nose. It didn't break my nose, it felt like it though. My lymph nodes were swollen for about a week. I couldn't swallow really for about a week. Had concussion symptoms. When I'd lay down, I'd see a real bright orange light going around, all black. Serious stuff. I went to the hospital. So what happened. So October 14th, to do 30 days from October 14, 2023. If I don't waive my prelim, I'm supposed to have it within what? 30 days. So November 13th, 14th, November 15th, 31 days, October, whatever, and get a prelim. Try to tell my attorney, but public defenders don't really do too good of a job when you don't pay them, right? It's just the way the world works. And Didn't make sure I got a preliminary. I'm telling the judge, hey, it's day 29. I need a prelim by tomorrow. I literally had a court date on the 29th day. It wasn't my prelim, but I had a court date, a status check. That's what they call them. Every time they go in front of a judge, you know, you get your arraignment, then you get status checks. You know, we're going to take up bond. We're going to take up this. We're going to take up that. Talk about if you do bond out, where you're going to go. Do you need an ankle monitor? Stuff like that, right? So just talking about the process. So day 29, I've had like 4 or 5 status checks. I'm not waiving my prelim. I told my attorney, Andrew Ruhlman, at that time, so look, I'm not waiving my prelim. So I got beat up by the cops. And all my court dates within those 30 days, not one time did I see, and they get contacted, right? If you have any alleged victims within a case, every time you have court, the prosecutor sits there and calls them and say, for instance, me, Dallas House Court coming up, because of course they get their information, right? Whatever occurred, right? You getting arrested, right? If you got arrested, anybody involved, they get their information, their phone number, their story, blah, blah, blah. And if they're pressing charges, prosecutor calls them every time you have court. Hey, Mr. Hill has a bond hearing so-and-so date. Blah, 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 blah. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, so within those 30 days, not one time did I see the guy I allegedly assaulted or any of the cops. There was 4 cops present the morning of my arrest. I got arrested 2 a.m. October 14, 2023. 4 cops there. 4 cops got on me, used excessive force, hit me in the face while my head cuffs, choked me, however long, whatever. Lymph nodes swollen, my eyes, you know, my left side swollen, head hurts, you know. So, you know, this is the thing. They would have beat me up, let me go. That's cool. I wouldn't have sued. Now they take me to jail. Now I got to abide by the laws. Now I read the law. 30 days for a preliminary hearing. I got to present it. They don't have evidence within 30 days. Now the law does state this. It does state that if a preliminary hearing is held, and we go to court and the prosecutor says something like, "Well, we got in contact with the victim, right?" Because when you have court or preliminary, they have to bring all evidence that they have. They have to have pictures, video, if any. They have to have witness testimony. They have to have people come and testify. They can't get people to come and testify. They have no case. They can't get the pictures. And in my case, you know, people's cases are different. In my case, the cops lied in the police report saying they had taken pictures of whatever injury on the alleged guy that I allegedly assaulted and sent them to the prosecutor. There's no pictures that they took. There's no pictures of this guy. Anyway, moving forward, right? So it's like a game, right? You get charged with something. It's like if you get a city charge, they'll say city or whatever, say city of Belton, right? City of Belton versus whatever you're being charged with, disorderly conduct. Or if you get a state charge, or if you get a federal charge on your paperwork, it'll say United States of America versus boom. Or if you get a state charge, it'll say state of Missouri versus boom. So it's a match, right? And when you play in any match, right? Sports match or whatever, there's certain laws you got to abide by. There's certain rules. You can't do this, you can't do that. If you do this, this happens. If you do that, this happens, right? There's always a cause and effect with your actions in a game. If you get a flag, you get a penalty. So I you know, in my case, the first 30 days, okay, I'm not getting a prelim. I told the judge it's day 29, I need a prelim by tomorrow. He said, have your attorney tell me. We're standing right in front of the judge. I said, tell him. And it wasn't my attorney, Andrew Ruhlman, my first attorney at the time, because he was out of town or something. But it was a step-in attorney. His name was Kevin Garrison. And I told Kevin to tell him that's the Supreme Court rule, and I wrote it down, and I told the judge. He's like, have your attorney tell me. And he didn't. So he set my preliminary hearing out, but it would be a total of 59 or 60 days after my arraignment. That's, of course, in violation of the 30-day law, right? Okay, but I'm still getting my prelim, so okay, December 5th, right? From October 14th to December 5th is my scheduled preliminary hearing date. No, December 8th, I'm sorry, December 8th, 2024, preliminary hearing. I think I'm going home. December 5th rolls around, I get called to court, but I'm in another courtroom, seeing a different judge, and I'm getting arraigned on indictment charges, the same charges, right? So what they did, right, and this is the way they think they can get around it. They think they can, because since they're in violation of the 30-day preliminary hearing where I didn't get, and all the preliminary hearing is what? Going in front of the judge, these are your charges. Okay, state, what evidence do you have against this person? Do you have the victims here? Do you have, again, back to that rule, say a victim, the state calls a victim, right? Or we have a preliminary hearing, right? This thing the state can do. They can go in front of the judge and say, well, Your Honor, we got in contact with the victim, but they're out on medical leave or something, and they can't attend court, right? So it's a good excuse they can't come to court, but they want to. Or we're waiting on DNA lab results. So what that law, Court Rule 22.09, lets the prosecution do is continue your preliminary hearing to another date, and they can't continue it out more than 30 days, right? But they can for good cause shown. That's what the law says. If there's good cause shown in front of the judge to continue this for any reason, and that's a good excuse. Well, the victim can't come because they're in the hospital. When they get out of the hospital, okay, we'll set it out no later than 30 days. I never had a preliminary hearing held. Again, December 8th was my preliminary hearing date, but the law states one shall be held no later than 30 days from your arraignment. I never had one held. So that's an automatic violation. My case is dismissed. The worry is what's called erroneous convictions from judges. States tend to like to do what they want. If you irritate a judge in any form or fashion or a prosecutor, they like to bend the rules and violate your rights, and you can't get... But during this whole time they're doing this, I'm documenting all this to the federal court. And again, all my stuff is in the Supreme Court awaiting review. So again, it takes time. But again, that's normally what happens. Someone catches a charge, right? Or gets accused of doing something, catching a charge. Accused of doing something. Whether that be a city ticket, a state charge, or a federal charge. They get accused of doing something. They have a due process. They have a trial process. Okay. Now, during that trial process, the prosecutors have certain deadlines. And again, all the Missouri criminal procedure is different from Kansas criminal procedure. Kansas' prelim might be, well, I'll give you a perfect example in regards to that. So, the state of Missouri, you guys heard of the term speedy trial, right? People get the right to a speedy trial. It's a Sixth Amendment right. So, in the state of Missouri, you look in the law books in Missouri, there's no set number of days for a speedy trial to be held in the state of Missouri. You go to the state of New York. Go to the state of New York and look under their speedy trial laws. In the state of New York, speedy trial, if an offender asks for a speedy trial must be held within 60 days. That's if it's a misdemeanor. Being accused of a misdemeanor. Being accused of a felony, it's 90 days. So again, if you ask for a speedy trial in the state of New York and you got a felony, they have to have the trial within 90 days. Missouri doesn't have a set number of days, but states that don't have a set number of days in regards to speedy trial, you look at the federal law. The federal law is called the Federal Speedy Trial Act. So if someone catches a federal charge, right, the feds have court procedures to pertain to, but they all align with the states. The states have to align. They can't contradict federal law. But they can, okay, so like in Missouri, 30 days for preliminary. One state might be 70 days for preliminary. You know what I mean? But they all have to abide by the feds, right? That's the centralized federal government. That's the head honcho, right? You go in history with this, and you go to the founding fathers, 1776, Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison. Who else? But you read that history. There's something called the Anti-Federalist Papers and the Federalist Papers. The Articles of Confederation around that time. It was a fight to get, people making their arguments. There was anti-federalists again, and then there's federalists. People that just wanted strictly state control over the states, and it went to a mess. And anyway, you do your research, you can get a better appreciation of that, of the civics behind it. So it's a match, right? It's my paperwork, state of Missouri versus Dallas Hill. So I got to make sure if you're going to fight it, right? Because I'm not pleading out to anything. If I'm going to fight it, I got to make sure I'm prudently, not prudently, what's the word I'm looking for? Diligently reading the law and understanding the law and filing the correct paperwork I need to do, because I'm pro se, that's of one's own. I don't have an attorney for my civil lawsuits. I filed all my own paperwork. I have a public defender for Clay County, but I don't for Bates County. I got the DWI charge out in Bates County, which I wasn't even driving, so the girl was driving. But I got to subpoena her now. There's a girl I was going with. I cut communication off with her, but she's gonna have to come to court and say that she was driving, because I admitted to driving. She got in a wreck, but she didn't have a driver's license, and she left the scene and came back with me, and I didn't think it was that serious. She had sideswiped somebody again. I think I might have said this in the beginning of the video, but yes, they didn't pursue any ticket at the day. They didn't give me any directive to go to court, this, that, and the other. So I thought it was nothing, but now that they're pursuing it over 2 years later, they're still trying to do this. I got to bring her to court because that's, that's not, I would have took my ticket at the careless driving ticket. Nobody got hurt. I passed my field sobriety test. That would have been done. See what I'm saying? Anyway. But again, this whole time I'm not complaining. You can't complain. You put yourself in positions like this. You can't complain about the circumstances. And I'm not in any form or fashion complaining about my circumstances. I'm just holding people accountable, right? But you have to, being a prosecuting attorney, right? You have to, it's like being a chef. If you're a chef at a restaurant and people order certain food and want it a certain way done, you have to do it the way they say it. Law isn't like that. Law isn't like, well, the judge can say this and we can just do whatever we want because the judge said it. That's what these prosecutors think. Well, the judge agreed with me. Well, the judge did it. But you request, when the prosecutors ask the judge to do something in regards to continuing something and get a deadline for something or charge them with it or do something, whatever, in regards to somebody getting accused of something. So, a lot of times they ask the judge knowingly that it's in violation of their rights. You can't do that because you're out of the deadline for that. We can't continue this no more. You can't get any more continuances because you're out of the deadline. But then you read the law books. The law books do say when there seems to be misconduct by the prosecutor, it's called prosecutorial misconduct. When there seems to be misconduct from the prosecutors, it's more or less the fault of your defense attorney. Your defense attorney should be stepping up to the judge and saying, hey, Your Honor, they can't do that. We've continued it to that. They can't do this. They missed this preliminary. They missed this. And I'll get into a few other things they missed after the 30 days. So again, get locked up. Been in jail before, so I get the process. So 30 days, you have 30 days to come and present evidence. People that were involved in the morning of my arrest, if they come to court, if they don't, you have to discharge. You have to dismiss my case. Cool, calm, cool, collect, patient. Then with bloody nose, my nose is hurting, my lymph nodes are swollen, blowing chunks of scabs out my nose for a month. And then they didn't do their job correctly. And my attorney didn't do his job correctly, so then you can file a civil suit for malpractice. It's called criminal or legal malpractice, right? There's something called crimes of omission and crimes of omission per failure of duty. So crimes of omission, right, you normally, if you see a crime being committed and you don't do anything, right, and then it later comes out that, oh, well, you saw it and didn't say anything, that's called crime of omission. You can be charged with that. Now, attorneys can be charged with crimes of omission, defense attorneys, if they go to court and fail to state a law in regards to my case. If malpractice is any act that harms, so like medical malpractice, right? A doctor does some work on you, that misdiagnoses you, gives you the wrong medication, does something that harms you later in life or right then and there, whatever. Medical malpractice, legal malpractice. Omitting to the judge, right? Oh, well, Your Honor, he didn't get a preliminary hearing within the first 30 days. He didn't waive his prelim. Why didn't we get a So negligence, that's negligence in regards to that. So when defense attorneys don't say what they're supposed to say or do anything in regards to helping you in front of the judge, when you go in front of the judge, if they omit something, maybe sometimes they're ignorant, I'm not bashing bar attorneys, but when people go to school, you learn, you read, you got to read this chapter and go to take a test the next day. That's how you get your bar. Right? You take civics courses and this, that, and the other. You see what I'm saying? It's just like high school. Go back to 10th grade. You take a test. So what do you remember really calculus? Do you remember biology unless you're really in the field and you got a profession in regards to that? No, so these lawyers and attorneys and judges, they don't know the law like you would think they know it like the back of their hand, right? No, they have to, when they got a question about something, and some stuff's common sense, right? Some stuff, procedural wise, you get an arraignment, got to have an arraignment within 48 hours, 72 hours. Just simple stuff, right? You charge somebody, you can't beat them up in handcuffs, something like that. You got to feed inmates, you know what I mean? We get right to a phone call. There's certain things you got to abide by. It's common sense stuff. But some laws people don't understand. So somebody like me, I'm going to look it up so I can know for myself and go to my attorney, hey, this is what the law says. Now, that's the thing about public defenders, right? A lot of public defenders come out of law school You don't get to pick. You want to be a prosecutor, you want to be a defense attorney. You can go the private route and be a private defense attorney, but a lot of the times you get one case a month. How are you going to pay the bills with that unless you come from a family of attorneys with already established business? So public defender is a great way to get your foot in the door. Now, a lot of people that go to law school, who do you think they are? Who do you think their families are? Families are cops, law enforcement, judges, military, generals, things of that nature. So their morals and values are going to align with theirs. And a lot of them, sometimes it's sad to say, they look down on people that come from less fortune than they do. See what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a protest against college, just the way it is. So the public defender comes in office first. They eventually work their way up, and then they get offered a prosecutor job within their county, wherever they're working. Of course, it's more money. Who wouldn't? Oh, thank you. See what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I was going through a crosswalk. So their job is to work with the prosecutors to get you a plea deal, a good plea deal. Oh yeah, I mean, they don't want to look bad. And you go to court, right? You have court for a day, right? There's a bunch of people in the audience, right? A lot of these public defenders don't want to look to the judge or to the prosecutors or to the people in the audience when they're speaking, because when you're in court, anybody can walk in your court and watch the court going on. They call people's names, the people come up, right? You just sit there and have a day out of it. Some people do. Some people go to court every day just to watch the court proceedings. That's what they do. That's their hobby. Anyway, so public defenders don't want to sit there and look like to the public or to anybody, oh, that we're helping a murderer, we're helping a rapist get his case dismissed or completely drop it or whatever. Because some people go in there with serious charges and say, I didn't do it. And then in the back of their mind, they say, well, prove it. You can't prove it. A lot of murders do. And if they get caught with a gun or something and the murder weapon, they always say it's self-defense. Well, how can they know nobody else was around, things of that nature? So they do deal with these things. I get faced with 2 assault charges, one on a cop, one on another person. Get my case dismissed. I got beat up by the cops. No one's showing up. It's been 30 days. I want my prelim. A prelim can be interchanged with the speedy trial, more or less. Prelims are trial, but a trial not to prove guilt or innocence. It's a trial to see if there's enough evidence to even take this to trial and keep you in jail. Make sense? So, I never had that. They get indicted. When they indict you, they more or less want to try to do anything they want with you. So, dealing with that stuff, the reason why, in my case, and this happens to a lot of people, they didn't give me a preliminary hearing because the cops probably don't want to come to court, right? This cop lied in his police report, hit me in the face. They got aggressive with me, lied in their reports. They would have had to come to the prelim for my charge to stick, right? Charge on assault on the cop. Come, bring the body camera. We'll watch the body camera. It's a mini trial. It's a preliminary hearing mini trial. But again, the judge doesn't say you're guilty or not guilty. You got to go through the trial process. But if there's enough evidence to hold you, we're going to look at the evidence at trial and let 12 members of the jury review the evidence. But as of right now, there's enough evidence to hold you. They didn't do that for me. Do it all the time, right? You know, money talks, BS walks. You got money for a decent attorney. I'm not going to pay $1,000 retainer, $1,000 retainer to an individual with a bar degree. And my public defenders aren't going to do it. To go in there and read off what I've told the judge over countless times. I was locked up 15 months. I probably had 30, 35 court dates. I got a rapport with that judge in regard, because I wrote him letters and stuff. I'm still, his name's Judge Alexander in Clay County. So in regards to that, if I'm telling you what the law, he don't believe me. You got to understand, I'm in a jumpsuit and chains, right? My wrist cuff. And I'm saying, well, this is what the law says. Do you think any judge in their right mind is going to believe somebody that's in a jumpsuit, got a beard, been in jail 15 months, or however long, even when they first get locked up? I'm like, well, he always says, let your attorney talk for you. No, he's not talking for me. This is what the law says. So I got to pay $1,000, which is, if I have to, I have to. I just feel like it's a waste of money for pay $1,000, and that guy says exactly what I told the judge, and it says, you know what, I agree with you. The judge won't agree with me because I'm in jail. He don't agree with pro se. He don't like pro se. Judges are attorneys too, and attorneys what? Went to school to do this. Defense attorneys, prosecutor attorneys, attorney generals, they all got bar degrees. That's why Washington, Trump's not a suit. He's not an attorney. Most of Biden, Harris, you know, they're lawyers, they're attorneys, they got bar degrees. So anyway, yeah, so I'm dealing with my lawsuits, waiting. I got the body camera. Got paperwork from, you know, I got, again, all my lawsuits I said earlier in the video. But with that, you know, the truth, I wouldn't be, you know, filling out paperwork and filing all these cases if my rights didn't really get violated. Okay, yeah, well, like, you know, take me to jail. But don't do anything more than that. Don't not give me my court dates. And then even with the preliminary hearing, so the 30-day preliminary hearing law didn't get the prelim, got indicted. Then there's the Federal Speedy Trial Act, 70 days again. I didn't get the speedy trial that I requested. And in the state of Missouri, if you have it in writing and file it on your case, then they have to acknowledge your writing, your motion for a speedy trial. And then again, in the state of Missouri, there's not a set number of days, but federal law is 70. You base it off that. 90 days, 120 days, 60 days for, you know, didn't get that. Then in the state of Missouri, there's something called UMDD laws, Uniform Mandatory Disposition of Detainer laws. In those laws, it's statutes 217450 and 217460. In these laws, it states that an offender must have trial no later than 6 months, or at least be heard on the matters. I didn't get a 6-month trial. It's been over 17, 18 months now. I got trial in April. I was supposed to have trial this past June and didn't have trial. Why do you continue it out? It went against my wishes and my regards, but the judge ain't listening to me. So, and the prosecuting attorney, you sit there and prosecute attorney and say, okay, prosecutor, I know you got jobs to do. You got a bunch of different people. I don't know how many prosecutors, but you got a lot of people you're dealing with. I'm just one case. Sit there and ask him, if I were to tell you a story where a guy gets locked up, don't waive his prelim within 30 days, and show him the law where it says it's got to be 30 days. If I sat there and asked the prosecutor, do you think this person's rights were violated? Or his attorney was negligent, of course. If I, again, told you my story and I said, the guy got locked up, didn't waive his prelim, didn't get a prelim within 30 days. Why not? Is that a violation of his rights? You ask a prosecutor this. They don't care. Even if they're, see, malice, you know, malice is allowing bad stuff to happen to people. So his prosecutors can sit up there and know, okay, well, he's supposed to have a prelim, but we're going to try to get it. We're going to try to let it slide because we don't have a case against him, and no one's shown up for his prelim. We'll just go ahead and try to indict him. How one got indicted, I have no idea. But when your case goes in front of a grand jury for an indictment, they have to be presented all the evidence. Unless there's any evidence that helps you. So what evidence would help me? My body cam getting hit in the face. Pictures of my injuries. But by law, all they probably did was went in front of the grand jury, said, Mr. Hill's being charged with this. This is his background. Because if they watch the video, there's no way. Why not just give me a prelim if the video incriminates me? Why not just, because again, indictments are expensive. States that file indictments, I'm not under a federal indictment, I'm under a state indictment, right? I'm under a state indictment. So they have regular charges, then they have state indictments, then they go to federal indictments. So when you get indicted, you have to have evidence, or you're supposed to. Ethically and morally, a grand jury is not supposed to hand down what's called a true bill indictment, unless there's evidence that the prosecutors can use in trial. There's material evidence. If there's enough evidence, right? If they seen my video, why not just do a preliminary hearing? Because the judge doesn't see the video. If they did watch my body camera, me get hit in the face, the judge at the time does not watch it. The judge isn't ruling on nothing. It's just a grand jury. So they didn't want to bring it in the preliminary where the judge can see it. So the judge can say, no, he got hit in the face. Boom. See what I'm saying? But eventually he's going to have to get in front of the judge if we go to trial. But no, yeah. So for them to waste money on an indictment and then to go to trial, to go grand jury indictment costs, I'll just put it to you this way. Grand jury indictments cost less than 12-person jury, trials, right? There's still juries, right? But there are different types of juries. There's a 12-person jury trial. There's a grand jury. They don't find guilt or they don't find guilt or innocence. They just see if there's enough information here to indict you. But again, it's out of the 30-day range. Why not do it at a preliminary hearing? Why did it take you 60 days to indict me? I see you get locked up with people with gun charges, armed criminal action, burglar charges with carrying a pistol. They don't get indicted. People get indicted are murderers. People that get indicted are, RICO cases, federal cases, of course. People that get indicted are, it's very rare that the state uses a state indictment. It's what it says in the law library, that digital law library I was talking about. There's a history on law, and there's a history that says the states very rarely use a state indictment. So to use a state indictment in lieu of a regular preliminary, spending probably $10,000, $15,000 on a grand jury, and then go to trial is probably another $20,000, $25,000. To do that just seems erroneous. Why not just do the preliminary hearing if it's because the judge would have been like, no, and they couldn't get the cops to come to court. But their evidence is that the cops are willing to testify. So, but that's where I'm at right now. Trying to get this dropped. I got a motion for my case on March 13th, or got a motion deadline. It's a motion hearing. And my attorney said, I'm not the type of attorney to file motions for dismissal. I don't do that. I don't know why. I've tried to get my case dismissed multiple times, in lieu of my violations, my speedy violations, my preliminary violations. And on top of all that, my 6-month trial, I was supposed to have a 6-month trial, never got a trial in any form or fashion. But again, keep working, stay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in society, right? I think what it is they're holding on to my charges because I sued. But that can damper civil lawsuits, right? Especially if my case gets to the Supreme Court, or my case is getting called up and I'm still dealing and it's still pending. But even with that, my criminal charges, that is, because I got civil lawsuits pertaining to those criminal charges. Bates County Sheriff, I got a DWI, Bates County, careless driving no ID again. So my lawsuits against them is unlawful arrest, things of that nature. They violated my 6th Amendment, didn't present my charges to me. When you write a ticket, even if you don't take somebody to jail and write them a ticket, you have to present that ticket to them. It has to be on camera. Here's your ticket. Here's your court date. Sign for it. You have to do. They must. Or if you don't, they go ahead and file a ticket. That's a surprise ticket. I have to be informed of a court date. Was never informed of a court date. Can't do that. And if that's on camera, which it is on the dash cam with a cop not telling me my court date, you can't do that. You can't talk to individuals, right? Or if you have an altercation of any form or fashion, the cops get called, or a circumstance, and the cops don't take you to jail. So, okay, well, I'm going to let you go. Well, there's that weed in your car I'm just going to throw out. They just let you go. They can't let her sit there and go in their car and file a ticket without telling you. That's what Bates County did. So I sued them for unlawful arrest, falsifying documentation, things of that nature. They're called surprise tickets. I've dealt with them before, cops writing surprise tickets on me. You can't let somebody go. You can't. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You got to issue them a citation. They have to know that they're being charged with whatever. He never told me. So anyway, KCPDs, they lied in trial, say I assaulted them. Just dealing with stuff. You know what I mean? And in regards to that, there's so much detailed stuff that I can get into in regards to each case. Like KCPD, for instance, they charged me with assault, right? A city simple assault. And in the trial, they said that I kicked them in the body, in the chest, knocking their body cameras off and stuff. The body camera didn't show that. I did not once kick the officers, but they lied under oath. And then the body camera came out, and I said in my closing arguments to the judge in Kansas City, this was back in 2023, I said, They lied under oath. They said I kicked them. I never kicked them. I never assaulted these officers. You watch the 30-minute body cam video. I did not once assault these officers. So you can't sit there and lie under oath. So I sued them for perjury. Clay County Public Defender's Office for malpractice. Clay County Sheriff's Department for excessive force for an incident. Liberty PD. Bates County and Vernon County Sheriff's Department. Vernon County's done already, because even when my case goes up for the Supreme Court, the new sheriff there down in Vernon County, Nevada, Missouri, which is south of Bates County, they're already changing policy. They already got stuff in the news. They're going back to the old city jail soon in Kansas City. So, but that's what I'm dealing with on the legality, secular point. You know, and I'm working. I got me a job and everything. So since I've been out, I've been all right. So yeah, blessed. But I'm dealing with that stuff, right? Do your job correctly, and I will. If you abide by the law and the Missouri court procedures, I will work with you. If you don't, I'm not going to work with you, straight up. And the only reason why they would divert from the norm of what they're supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be. If you're going to indict somebody on a charge, you have to do it within 30 days or give them a preliminary hearing. Because when you're indicted, when you get under indictment, you don't get a preliminary hearing anymore. See what I'm saying? Your preliminary hearing goes away once you get indicted. So they try to get around it and say, well, we indicted you, you don't get a prelim. But you're past the 30-day mark. Within 30 days, unless waived, you got to indict or get a prelim. And they didn't do that. That's at the most basic level. That's the only thing that right now you can't, but they still are pursuing my case. But I haven't had an attorney. I need an attorney to say this to the judge, to speak to the judge. Everything I've said to the judge, I need an attorney to say that for me, and I haven't had a public defender say that for me. So it's looking like I got to get a paid attorney, which is ridiculous. Yeah. And it's nothing against I hate cops or I did this, I did that. You got to look at it like this. Look at a bunch of random, you know, when you're younger playing cops and robbers, right? Your brother was the robber, you were the cop. It's as simple as that. You go try to subdue somebody did something, he's running away, go run at. That's what it is. See what I'm saying? But the reason why, and the reason why they're taken aback, because I sued, and of course notify them when you sue. You have to notify. You can't sneak sue people. You got to notify them. So of course, when you sue law enforcement, they're honorable people, right? They have family. A lot of them, you know, they show blue bloods. Got a lot of people in the family rooted in the community, city, whatever they're in. Valor, military, you know, good folks. So when they get sued, they take that. Why are you suing me? I'm not that type of. I would never do that. My intentions were not that either. My intentions were not A, B, and C. You know, what I did was I tried to get a reaction out of Liberty PD, and Liberty PD overreacted to it, and got physical with me while in handcuffs. That's what it was. And I'm not going to say or lie that I didn't try to. I did try to get out of, you know, an assault, whatever. And it's, but you know, again, now I'm working, I'm saving money, I'm still writing, still reading, still in my faith, go to service, still talking to some brothers that are still locked up that are in the Word and everything, and good folks, and talking to some sisters, Mormon sisters from Lee Summit. So I water my faith every week, every day. I read every day, I pray every day, and that's not just to tell you guys, hey, look what I'm doing. No, I don't know. It's you know, I say that's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's what I choose to do because that's what I want to do, and that's where my higher power leads me, is to do that, and that's what I need to do. There's no other way. You know what I mean? So get this stuff behind me. You know, of course, I always think the worst. The judges and they don't care about people's rights, especially, oh, you committed a crime. You don't have no rights. You committed a crime. No, you read a story in the book of Acts. Paul, you know, if you guys are familiar with the Acts, it's when Paul sails, you know, 3 different times. He goes from Jerusalem out to, you know, trying to get to Rome. He eventually gets to Rome on his 3rd time, but he gets there locked up anyway. But he ends up, you know, preaching the word or whatever, gets beat up by Roman soldiers. But come to find out, he says, why would you beat a Roman citizen? Because Paul was a Roman citizen. You can't beat your own citizens. So you look at stuff like that, the Old Testament, these events occurred. The Roman soldier he didn't think Paul was a Roman citizen, so he could just beat him and flog him and do whatever to him. Paul's like, you would beat a citizen like this. So you look at that, and then the civil rights movement. This has been happening way back in the ancient East. Middle East, right? So it's not like I'm on my side, I have my history, and I hate cops. Or I listen to hip-hop, I write music, this, that, and the other. Oh, I have a problem with cops, I hate cops. No, I'm not over here to commit any crimes. I'm not over here doing anything. And my drive for that to sue, because it takes a lot to sue. It's not easy to sue unless you pay a bunch of money to an attorney and they do all your paperwork. You can do it all yourself. It's a lot of work. So, you know, there's a scripture that says every knee will bow down to the name of the Messiah. You know, some Christians say Jesus, Yahusha, the Messiah. I am your deliverer, the Messiah. Every knee will bow down. So in any and all circumstances, whether you're facing crucifixion like the Messiah was, or, you know, you feel guilt for your sin because you told your mom to shut up once when she was 14, right? And you feel guilty about that. I don't know. But you rest your life, you lived a holy life. I don't know. So there's a spectrum for the Messiah. Messiah fits in everything. Messiah, you're forgiven because he died for your sins, right? People face death, right? People face death. People get crucified or hung or shot or death penalty, wherever, in all circumstances of life you can look at. Your sin might be overindulgence, gluttony, cheating, porn, whatever, drugs, alcohol, whatever. There's a point. And with all that, right? Or it's not the actual thing, it's what you do when you do the actual thing, when you're gambling, when you're drinking, when you're drugging, when you're cheating. It's what happens, right? Some people face death. You might be cheating on you got a wife, you might be cheating, and that girl's husband comes, she's married, you don't know it, he comes home, he shoots you, you're facing death. You know, so the Messiah story and the principles within apply to any and all circumstances within the spectrum of life. You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense. The poor, the rich, whatever. And then the rich folks that are in authority, right? Because rich folks are in authority. King, judges, you know, generals, family members take over when, you know, sons are senators, congressmen. The way the Messiah story, how, you know, they're pious, right? They're holy. They don't do any wrong. Of course, we're human. We're fallible. We all do wrong. That's how you become a humble and admit your sin and say, this is what I've done. So to not look at anybody and judge anybody and think you're better than anybody because I'm in a position of power and they're homeless, poor, don't have money, you know. They don't come from a functional family, right? So, you know, they're criminals and filth. This is what people get looked at. Some people are. Not going to lie to you. There are people that deserve to be behind bars 23 hours a day, never getting out. There are people that deserve that, yes. I totally agree. I'm not for defund police. I'm for tougher law because I've tougher crime or tougher laws on crime. If there was tougher law on crime and not leeway like Obama with the drugs and stuff, people wouldn't commit them. Oh no, I'm not doing that. It's way too much time. That does hinder people. But some people amend laws and do this. Democrats do all the time. They want folks. You look at the Democratic Party. I'm gonna get political. Not Democrat. Yeah, Democratic Party. LGBTQ. The less fortunates. The people that want to be liberal and be free. And oh well, I'm oppressed. I want to do this, but society don't let me. They're the ones that get laws changed and get wimpier on crime, if I may, for lack of a better term. So things like that. So I don't agree with any of that. You make the law. You make a law. You commit a crime. This is how much time you get. That should be it. Oh well, I'm not going to do that. Then that's too much time. See what I'm saying? Why amend a law and say, oh, you don't get as much time, you get less percent? Why? Just don't do it. So that's where I'm at with the situation. I mean, I agree with a lot of people. I appreciate the civics behind, you know, American history, world history. I've done classes on world history. You know, you get appreciation of American history. 1776, British. We split up from the British. British left. You get an appreciation of how laws came to be, how the Constitution, Articles of Confederation, the Anti-Federalist Papers, how those all came to be, how laws came to be, how 13 colonies made these laws and went federal, centralized federal government, and then the procedure we're getting voting public officials in and all this other stuff. So I have an appreciation for it. It's just malice. A lot of good people can be malicious. They just don't see it. And malicious ain't just harming somebody. It's allowing some harm done to somebody and you not doing anything about it. So a prosecutor, right? Oh, well, it's in a match. We want to win. So let's have the judge, even though it violates his rights, let's have him schedule a preliminary hearing out way past what it's supposed to be. If I don't have any help, of course, that's the fault on my defense, the malpractice. But they can just sit there and say, well, it's your attorney's fault. I'm going to sit here and try it anyway because I'm trying to convict you. But they can't. There's no integrity in that. That's where malice and prosecutorial misconduct comes in. That's where it gets personal and can't do that. I was locked up with people coming in on gun charges, and 45 days, they're gone. A felon with a armed criminal action, discharged a firearm, and the reason why he got let go is because the cops didn't come to court. Okay, the cops didn't come to my court. I don't have any guns involved. So it's kind of like the story of the Messiah and Barabbas. I believe that's how you say it. When Barabbas got released, he was the murderer. Not the reservoir. What's the word I'm looking for? Insurrection, and he killed some people. The Jews wanted Barabbas, but not because of the Passover. They really released a prisoner. So is this something you look at it like that? So how these people? But I don't look at it like that. When I was locked up with them, like, okay, that's cool. That's the way the law's supposed to work. So it's something personal with me in regards. And then there's family members again. One of the cops that's involved in my incident in Liberty, Clay County. His wife is a prosecutor on my case, and her sister is a prosecutor on my case. And so it's of course trying to help family and stuff. So, but I get it. In the end all be all, I get it. And it's just, why not drop a case? You drop people's cases all the time. If I would have waived my prelim, my case would be dropped already. If I would have waived my prelim, nobody would have showed up to court. And they get satisfaction out of that. Okay, so you sat in jail, you waived your prelim. When you waive your prelim, you're not saying you're guilty. You're not signing a guilty plea, but you're telling the state, okay, I'll work with you in regards to a plea deal because you charged me. Okay, I'm not necessarily admitting it, but yes, I'm not going to force you to present evidence early in a case. Because when you enact your 30-day preliminary rights, they have 30 days. Oh, we got to go to all these people. They're busy working on it. That's not our fault. That's the Congress mandated that 30 days, not business days. I'm locked up Monday through Friday. You work Monday through Friday. You're off Saturday, Sunday. Those days still count while I'm sitting in jail. So that's where I'm at with the matter. It's semantics at this point. They're losing on semantics. And when it gets to a point in a case, even a homicide case, I've had experience with people, the YNW Melly, he's going on retrial. They refiled his case. I was locked up with a guy. He did 4 years. He got a mistrial. Then they refiled it again. He's still in Clay County, still dealing with this, and he's going to trial again. So they do that. But they're within their rights, and homicide's a lot different. In the state of Missouri, I don't know about any other state, there's certain statutes that say homicide and preliminary. You can ask for a preliminary hearing on a homicide, but you have no victim. It ain't like your victim come to court because they're dead, right? So in regards to speedy, and that goes out the window with homicides, but no other charge. So again, fault of your attorney, your defense attorney, it's malpractice, right? Crimes of omission per failure of duty. It's their duty to tell a judge, my client needs a prelim, he didn't waive it. What happened? So again, if you get lucky, you get an attorney. So the end all be all is stay out of jail, right? Don't commit any crimes. Don't get into it with authority. Respect the governing authority is what the word says, right? So, yeah, that's it. I just wanted to check in. I appreciate it.